again. I'm going to show you how you can use organic beads. These are like have a pass-through hole, and how you can alter them and add resin on the top to give them a little bit of color. I'm just going to be using a white, but you could use any color that you can put together. The first step of this process, we're going to go ahead and use a little bit of rubbing alcohol, and we're going to clean the surface of the organic beads. Just dip a little bit of your Q-tip right into the rubbing alcohol, and then rub the surface of the bead. The Nunn Design organic beads are cast in a lead-free pewter, and then we plate them with 24 karat gold, copper, and also a 0.99 fine silver. And then we oxidize them to give them this blackened look. And sometimes that blackened oxidization comes off and discolors or alters the resin. So I have just gotten in a habit of cleaning my pieces with a little bit of rubbing alcohol prior to putting on the resin. So just go ahead and clean them up with a little bit of rubbing alcohol. And then when I'm working with the pieces, I like to lay down a business card because it makes it easy for me to move around the pieces. I'm often working on my kitchen table, which is what I'm doing right now, and the cards just make it easy for me to move around the pieces without touching them. Alright, so the next step that we're going to do is we're going to mix a little bit of the Nunn Design resin, and it has a part A and a part B, and then we're going to add a little bit of colorant in it, the casting craft colorant, to get it that nice white color. You'll need to have the mixing cup, and this is available in the Nunn Design kit, and we're going to use it to the 1 tablespoon of, first starting with the part A, we're going to pour in 1 tablespoon worth. I'm actually going to put down a little bit of, I like to work on a little piece of plastic. We're going to have a mixing pad, and what else will we need? That's all we'll need for now, and I have a timer ready to go. So I'm going to go ahead and put in 1 tablespoon. I tend to like to get down right even with the cup so I can see when I've hit that 1 tablespoon mark. So I'm just pouring very slowly until I hit just that 1 tablespoon mark, and then I let up and let it get fully level. And I'm going to wipe off the surface of where I poured and put my lid back on. Then with my part B, I'm going to go ahead and add another tablespoon up to the 2 tablespoon mark, just pouring slowly until I hit exactly on that mark of the 2 tablespoon. This has to be exactly a 1-to-1 ratio. Mixing the full cup of 2 tablespoons in order for the Nunn Design self-doming resin to be activated and fully mixed. Next, I have my little timer here that I've set for 2 minutes, and I'm going to start. And I will stir the resin. I have a fat tongue depressor for this one. You want to move around the sides, and it'll turn a milky white at first, and then as you continue to stir it together and as the time goes by, it'll start to become a clear. From time to time, scrape off the sides of your stick and then come in and scrape again the sides of the cup. And just continue on for the 2 full minutes. Sometimes I spill, and that's why I like to put it onto the plastic. You can see it's starting to change from that milky white to a nice clear. Don't worry so much about the bubbles. Those will continue to off-gas and pop. I'm scraping the sides of my stick, continuing to stir. Let's see what the time is. All right, we have just a couple more seconds to go. And there we are. We're done. Now our resin is fully mixed and we are ready to add some colorant to it. So for adding the colorant, I am going to mix only 1 tablespoon of this white. So I'm going to off-pour this mixed because I can use it for multiple purposes. I can keep it clear, I can mix it with other colors, and have a variety of usage of this 1 cup. So I'm just going to go ahead and use just a small amount of this, and I'm going to add a little bit of the Casting Craft Opaque White. And this will be used to pour onto the pieces. So with a little bit of this, the rule with the colorants is in order for this resin to cure, you don't want to put in more than 10% of the colorant to the resin in order for the piece to fully cure. So I just put in a small squirt, and if it wasn't opaque enough, I could add in a little bit more. And then it's always a good idea to get in the habit of wiping your casting craft and putting the lid on right away, because I can't tell you how many times I put the wrong color lid on the piece. All right, now we have our mixed resin, and we have our pieces that we have on the little cards, making it easy to move around. So we'll bring those back in to the screen. Whoops, there's our timer again. And we're going to go ahead and add on now a little bit of the colorant. And for adding on the colorant, I like to use a toothpick for this because it's just so much easier to scoop up a small amount and place it right on the tag. So move that aside and drizzle a small amount right onto the bead. As you can see, I'm going slow because it's easier to keep on adding to the resin than it is for you to scoop it up. Another thing that you can do is have 2 toothpicks and hold the bead in the hole and move it around and kind of keep it stable that way. I'm just moving the resin around and just bringing it over to that side edge. It'll get right to that side edge and it'll stop. You can see that there's a little bit of a couple little bubbles that are off-gassing, and that will continue to happen as we go along. Whoa! All right. So if you get a little glob on there, just move it over to the side. When that resin hardens there, we can just go ahead and pick it off with our fingers. All right, so there's bead number 2. You can see those little bubbles. Don't worry about them, we're gonna address them. And then bead number 3, move over and add a little bit of colorant onto that. I'll find my hole so I can make it stay in one place as I'm picking up the resin and then dragging it over to that side edge. All right, now that you have, once you have all of the pieces fully coated, and if you have some bubbles that are forming on the side or on the surface of your resin, what you can do is, I'm going to lift this up slightly so you can see how this goes. I'm going to use my breath and I'm going to blow in a huff, and the hot air from my breath makes that air expand and it pops. So you can see that that resin is all now nice and bubble free. This one has little bubbles still on it. Just use your hot air from your breath. You can see that it pops all of the bubbles as the air expands. And there you go. Now we'll let these sit and cure for the next, it'll take about 12 hours for the resin to cure, so it's hard to touch, but it'll continue to cure for the next 12 hours or so after that, so 24. And then when we're all finished, they will look like this, and you can add in a piece of leather or a chain and make a simple pendant using the organic beads with colorized resin. This is Becky Nunn with Nunn Design. Hope you enjoyed it.